Is it just me, or has anyone else noticed that since the pandemic started?
Ooh, 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 ooh. I got this one. I got this one. Yes, 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 absolutely. I started gardening during the pandemic. Now, mind you, I grew up with a mother who had a garden. So I knew the difference between food that was grown out in our backyard and food that came out of the grocery store. It was so drastically different, all right, that a lot of times it was hard to eat the food that came out of the grocery store, okay? Many, many years go by. The pandemic, I start my own garden. Now, the food was already like blah, but then I started gardening, and baby, I had forgotten what a tomato tastes like. A real tomato, not a hothouse tomato, not a tomato that came out of wherever they taken tomatoes out of. Tomatoes are supposed to be sweet and have flavor. The grocery store stuff is not sweet and it don't have no flavor. It's just a tomato in name only. At first I thought, okay, maybe it's the grocery store. So I started going down to the farmer's market. Baby, it's the same tomato. The tomato that's at the farmer's market, unless it comes from a local farm. Their little sign says Johnson Smith Farms, whatever, across their little banner. It's the exact same stuff they send to the grocery store. The food is not foodie. You are absolutely correct. The food is not foodie. Baby, if you can, get yourself a little garden. Get yourself a little garden, even if you just grow a couple things. Now, I grew up with greens that grew up in the backyard. Now, let me say this again. I grew up with greens that grew in the backyard. You could hardly find them in my neighborhood. All right? I go get greens. Now, they look the same, but it's not the same. I'm going to tell you the difference. You ever heard of collard green coleslaw? I have made collard green coleslaw out of the greens I grow in my backyard. I go in my backyard, I snip off a few leaves, I wash them real good, I chop them up, and I make coleslaw out of collard greens. Think about that. How is that possible? Because the ones they sell at the grocery store are so tough. You gotta cook them to eat them. But the ones I grow in my backyard, I can dice them up and eat them like coleslaw. She's right. The food ain't food. Get you a garden if you can.